very often when we are talking to each other, we are not focusing on each other. How often we've said, yeah, I'm listening, and actually you've got your phone in your hand. I mean, our phones have become so intrusive, but because we also have so many things to do, we've also got to rush out and do whatever we're doing. We've got to come back, we've got to handle whatever's happening at home. Men, women, children, all of us go through this, right? And that phone has become like an addiction. We touch it and fiddle with it even when there's no need. There's no, hi Anuradha, there's no alert, but you're touching it. You're checking if anyone saw your post. You're doing whatever. I mean, I'm not questioning what we're doing on it, but we are. And we have it in our hand. Our eyes are on it, and yet we'll go, I'm listening to you. You're not. And I know that you're not listening to me. Hi, Naval. So that's what I wanted to just focus on, that, not only for now, for ourselves and for our relation with our family, with our friends, with the people whom we hold dear. Let's take that time to really pause and look at them, give them that attention that they deserve. I'm sure some of you will have already done it, and I'm sure if I were to do this again, it's a management exercise that is done, but or a life skills exercise. I'm sure if you were to sit and prioritize on your 5 main priorities in life, family would come on top. Then you would start going downwards. You'd probably put friends, you'd probably put, of course, work, you would put, that roti kapda or makan, you'd probably put all that there. So about your food, sustenance, all that, and you'd put hobbies as well, right? The well-being for ourselves, that time we need for ourselves. And then if you were to flip and look at how much time you spend on each of these, I know that for every time I've done it, it's been an eye-opener to me that I think I've got things sorted, and I find no. I'm spending way too much time on a priority that I have put at number 4 or number 5. And the one that I've always kept right on top, which is my family, I have not given as much time or as much attention as they probably deserve from me. I might be doing everything for them, but am I giving them that attention? Am I giving them that feeling? So, of course, I've taken the line from that movie, Avatar. It was so beautiful the way they would keep saying, I see you, I see you. I've taken the line from there. And I just felt that, of course, I'm going to share some anecdotes, and let me give a disclaimer first. I'm not perfect. Of course, I've had my moments when things have not worked according to plan, and as I just shared, have not worked according to my priorities. But I remember, and again, I'm going to share something my mom had observed. So at that time, my mom was not living with me. She came to visit us, and my parents had come over to visit us from Calcutta, so they were staying with me. And my son was about 2, because I know he just started going to school. He'd forced me to send him to school. And I overheard this conversation between my parents where my mom was telling my dad that, have you noticed how she beautifully manages, so they were talking about me, manages to spend time with everyone. She gives time separately to each of her children and to her husband, and she has time for us. I was obviously very struck by this. And honestly, I knew I was managing to spend that time, but honestly, their own schedules were helping me. I was working, well, not quite working too much. I was a stay-at-home mom at that time. Hi, Neetu. But their timings were helping me do that. So first person up in the morning was obviously me, but then after that I would, hi Kay, I would wake my daughter up, get her ready, drop her to school, drop her to the bus stop, come back, get my son up, get him ready. He was picked up at the house, at the doorstep, send him off, and then have some time with my husband, and finally have some time, obviously, with my parents since they were staying with me. But that, again, like I said, it's an anecdote that has stayed in my head, and it has come back repeatedly to me that, I have to find that time in my schedule so that I spend that time with my children and my family, of course. And yet, obviously, life takes over and it's hard. But if we make that conscious effort, we can do it. So now I'm fast forwarding. I'm going to when my daughter must have been about 15. And so the coffee shop culture had just started in Delhi, at least, if not across India. So you remember Barista had just opened, and it was quite a cool thing to go off to the coffee shop, and we were so excited by all those beautiful, freshly ground coffees and everything. Otherwise, most of us, unless we lived in the south, were cheerfully drinking instant coffee. And so by now I was working full time. They were in what we call a day boarding here. So they would also only get free after 4 in the afternoon. How often I remember, and by then cell phones had come into our lives. So I remember calling them as I was reaching home and saying, let's go out for a coffee. And how exciting it was for just the two of them and me to get time together to unwind a bit, literally over a cup of coffee. And it was coming from that whole thing that I was on that run around, obviously in the morning, however peaceful I tried to keep it. We knew we had to rush, we had to leave the house, we had to get to school on time. And when we got home, we would all get into our own routines. So it was literally finding that moment, that half an hour between they needed to rush off for their sports and tuitions and whatever else, and I needed to get on with whatever I was doing. So it was just that moment that we found to do. I'm going to suggest some other things to you. I'm going to suggest um, ways in which you can do it. One is, of course, to look at your routine. Another beautiful time we always made sure that either one of us would spend with the children was before they went to bed. Of course, as they got older, then that kind of fizzled out because they'd be studying or they'd have their own routines. But we would try and make that time a special time for them. And then, of course, once they were asleep, then that's your time together too, right? So one is just culling that time. Sometimes you need support in having the conversation. How do you talk? Especially if you want to have a meaningful conversation. And meaningful conversations don't happen all the time. I mean, I can tell you even now, I've been on holidays with my daughter. She's obviously an adult now. And one of the things that we've both appreciated about the two of us going for holidays together is that we both sit in silence. We go for hours just sitting in silence. So this was a beautiful one of those boutique places we were in. And we'd come back from whatever sightseeing and stuff we did. And she just said that, Mom, do you mind? Before I come into the room, I just want to sit on the terrace and stare at the stars. And I looked at her and said, I was thinking the same thing, that I don't want to go into the room right now. And we actually just sat in silence, both of us thinking our own thoughts and just doing what we wanted to. But it was such a beautiful, companionable time that we spent together. We said so much without saying anything. So it's also sometimes you just need silence. Every conversation doesn't have to be meaningful. Hi Sonia, super to see you. So, yet I am going to suggest that there are times when it helps to have something physical through which you can talk. Toys, of course, are a great, great way of doing this. Asha Didi, I could manage. My cousin is too sweet. She logs on every day. and she herself was principal, and she's done amazing things in her life. So she's saying that it's good to know how you could manage. I managed, then I dropped, then I picked myself up, but I'm just sharing that we can all create time. So this is, I think it's my daughter's from her babyhood, or it could be my sister's, but my sister is the keeper of all soft toys. So these are beautiful to use, whether it is that you're talking to the toy, and so you're saying something to the toy, and then you sort of hold the toy and you look at the toy, you can hug the toy, and then you can pass it on. And especially when you're doing this with children, and give them time. If you're doing this with children, and again, I know that many of my colleagues are here who have done this and do it very, very effectively. I know how they would verify that this really works. It gives the child something to hold, to hug, to feel safe, and to be able to talk. And yet, as I said, every conversation doesn't have to be a meaningful one, it can just be a precious one. So, toys are great. I, of course, love my stones. So, a stone, it doesn't have to have anything on it. It could be, I'm going to move this, I hope it won't fall. It could just be a plain one. Okay? Or it could be, hi Jayanti. So, there are lots of my friends, colleagues, and teachers who've logged on. And of course, I mean, it could be like I have. I love showing you, trying to wave to her, but it's not happening. I'm just showing you some of the stuff that I've got. It could be something as small as this. And you hold it, you talk to it, or you talk with it in your hand, and then you pass it on to the person or pass it across to the person who's sitting with you. And it actually works. It works like that cup of tea or that cup of coffee that we share as adults. So, this is something that you could try. Hi Nira, how super that you keep logging back on. Of course, our smiley balls. If you have them, they're beautiful. You could use these. You can use anything. If you feel that you want to physicalize it, you can use anything. This is actually one of those Christmas stars. You could have it on a lollipop stick like that. You can use anything. Something again that we have used, and this helps to set the mood. If you know that you need to have maybe a difficult conversation. Maybe you know that there's a situation at home or at school or with friends that you need to talk about. You may or may not be able to resolve it, but you do need to talk about it. And so you need to create a comfortable space in which you can talk. Don't do this every time, because this kind of thing, of course, it's a little conscious. So, but once in a while, it actually, again, it just helps to center you. It helps you to come to that space where you know that whatever you are sharing is from your heart and it's being taken in that space. So I don't have flowers right now, so my good old seed pod, I'm going to plop it. I actually have a crystal bowl, and we've done this with children, young children, 20, 25 of them at a time in a glass bowl. And I don't know if you can make out, my bowl has water in it. And in fact, I've seen my fabulous colleagues doing this with a bowl which is slightly wider. So, which means that it's making you attentive, it is making you focus. If you want to light a little incense or agarbatti, that's fine. You don't have to. And just one flower petal dropped in it, so that there's a point of focus. Hi Nilu. So just as we have, when we sit for our pujas and things, we have a little light, we have a little lamp, and it helps us to focus. It's really that happens with this little bowl of water and one petal dropped in it. And again, you can talk to the bowl, you can talk to holding the bowl, and then you pass it very carefully. to the other person, or you offer it across if it's two of you. And it also generates a lot of respect when you do this. It gives, of course, the weight to the conversation, but offers a lot of respect. You know that when you have the talking toy, all right, so if you've used a toy or you've used a stone, when that talking object is with you, you speak, but the other person has to listen at that point. How often, especially when we're all talking together in family conversations, when we're talking with friends, and of course, especially with children, how often there is that cutting in of conversations, how often you either will raise your voice to be heard over, or you'll just keep quiet, and even if you've not forgotten what you were saying, choose to just let it go. So this gives it that space and respect. And these are just small ways in which we can um, support each other in those conversations. I would, like I said before, I would suggest that, where you are choosing to use something like this, a bowl of water which you are giving to each other, I would use it seldom, but I would use it. I would use it. I would use it so that we know that this is a time when we're going to be undisturbed. And if you notice, my phone stayed far away. So you are looking eye to eye at the person whom you're speaking to. You're giving them the full focused attention. And if you need it, or if you feel that it will help, you are using an object or a toy through which you are conversing. And sometimes, as I said, you don't need that. Sometimes it's just silence together. And of course, sometimes we're just playing together. But it's also about each person knowing that they are important to you. They are a priority for you. They are they are the they are part of your reason for being. And so that's really what I wanted to share with you today. And yes, I checked in between, so I have been online for almost, it's 25 minutes, it's not a full half hour yet. So again, I'm so delighted to see so many of my friends, my colleagues across India, across the world, people I do not know logging in and watching me. Thank you so much for being a part of my world and a part of my conversations. And as I shared, I now have a lovely name for them. They're called WFH, Words from Home. And I'm logging on every day at 3 o'clock, and I'm sharing from my heart to yours. I've also shared on both my pages my plan for the week. So tomorrow, paper and pencil, that's what you need. If you've got colors, brilliant. You've got paints, brilliant. You don't, brilliant. Anyone can do it. With younger children, you will need to give them a little bit of support, but everyone can be a part of this. Please join me. Young children, parents, grandparents, friends, anyone. You're more than welcome to join me. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll be doing some fun stuff on paper. That's why I've now called it paper art. Um, just using a writing instrument. So you only need to be able to draw and to write. That's it. Not write, draw. Okay, and color. So which is why I keep saying 2-year-olds, because I'm presuming by then they can hold their pencils or have begun to use crayons. And on Mondays and Wednesdays, I share a little bit and from my experience as a mother, and of course, hi Rahul, as a mother, and of course, having worked with young children, having worked with their teachers for all of my professional life. So, a little bit of my experience from there. Hi, Christine, how super! How super! So thank you very much. And on Fridays, sorry, I was telling you what I do through the week. On Fridays, I share a little more about myself, my art. You can see some of my watercolors dangling here, though my mom has asked me to now remove that from here, so maybe I will. And yeah, so I share a little bit about my art, but more importantly, what I share is what keeps me positive and smiling and aligned, and keeps me able to bounce back, because all of us are working towards that. And if what I do can help anyone, because I know we all do it, and we all make our own efforts and in our own ways to do it, and we're all doing a great job. We need to remember to appreciate what we're doing, acknowledge what we're doing. And hi, Amita, hi, Pallavi, and yeah, and keep picking ourselves up. So, you know that image of a toddler. In fact, Pallavi has a little toddler at home. I'm not sure who else does. Uh, Image of a toddler in my head always, that a toddler will try to walk, fall, pick themselves up, and try again till they start walking. Aren't we still toddlers on the path of life? And that's what we keep doing. We fall, we lose our shirt, we lose it. And then we pick ourselves up, dust off our butts, dust our clothes, and we keep moving forward. So, if anything that I'm doing is able to touch you and reach you, I would love to be able to do that. And that's really my intention for these sessions. So, thank you very, very much. It's been a little over half an hour, and thanks so much for joining me. The videos, of course, will remain on the feed. So, if you missed the beginning or you joined late or whatever, you are more than welcome to take a look. Do share how you are able to use this. I know, Swati, you started sharing, but somehow it wasn't opening out, and by then I'd seen enough people for me to start the session. So, if you are using anything that I'm offering you in any way, please do share that. I would really love to know. If you want to comment on the video feed itself, that's great. And if you prefer to send me a personal message, that's great. But I'd really love to know. So thank you so much for joining me today. See you, everybody. Hi, Auntie Nona. I'm about to wind up. I was just saying bye-bye to everyone. The video will be available in just a minute or so. As soon as I finish it, it will be available for you. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.